Okay, everybody, I know it took me a while to figure this out, but I think I finally found the outfit that suits me. Hurrah! You will no longer address me as mere Tekking. I am now and forever shall be Dawn Tekking! Oh! Hoop! Okay then. Now, before we get into talking anything about SAI, I know SAI's a cool character, okay, we need to address something really important, and it's gonna lead into a tangent, but I gotta do it. What the hell is this thing? Well, this is just a piece of poster board, but what the hell is that thing on freaking SAI's neck, okay? This has always perplexed me, because you see this, you know, in the British aristocracy back in, like, the 16 and 1700s. I would see paintings of these, British royals wearing these giant frilly things coming off of their neck. I'm like, okay, so I finally sat down and, like, finally got around to reading, like, what the hell those things were and, like, what was their function, okay? And they're called ruffs, and from what I can understand, they really serve no practical purpose other than just being a symbol of, like, nobility. In fact, the Wikipedia article even says, and I love this quote, their impracticality led them to become a symbol of wealth and status. I love that. Well, I guess that fits for SAI. SAI is the 13th leader of the Hoppo Navy of the Kano Kingdom in West Blue. He went to Revery, so he does have an air of nobility about him, so I guess that fits why he wears it, but it's like, why? The only other reason I got is that women during the time period would wear these ruffs, except they would have them, like, open at the front and, like, wider in the back so they can better expose their bountiful bosoms. So that's all the reason I was just curious, because some of them get as large as freaking cartwheels. Like, literally, what is the function of wearing this thing? It just seems like it would be completely impractical. Well, I guess that's the point, right? Okay. So anyway, talking about the 3rd Division Commander of the Straw Hat Grand Fleet, and as I said, the 13th Commander of the Hoppo Navy, Dawn SAI, the grandson of Dawn Chinjao. So yeah, pretty cool. You know, so far, I don't think I've really went into like, scaling the Grand Fleet members in terms of power, like who is the weakest, who is the strongest. I've talked about their individual strengths, but I haven't really compared them. I would definitely rank SAI as up there as one of the strongest members of the Grand Fleet, comparing him right next to, like, Hakuba, Cavendish's alternate persona, and even, like, the raw strength of Hyrudine, okay, because SAI is pretty powerful. He has the power to, like, split, like, a pretty large area directly in half with his kicks. He's an armament hockey master, and he's also mastered a secret martial art of the Kano Kingdom and the Hoppo Navy, the Hasshoken, or the 8 Impact Fist, you know? So yeah, he has a lot of stuff going for him. Interesting design. Basically looks like a gorilla, which sort of led me to thinking Oda wanted to redesign Don Krieg and insert him into the post-time skip One Piece world, because think about it, like, his name is Dawn SAI, Don Krieg. They both are rocking the epic sideburns, kind of have, like, the gorilla appearance going on. They both use, like, a polearm weapon. Oda was definitely getting Don Krieg vibes when he was designing SAI. He's just like, maybe he's like, well, I really like designing Don Krieg back during East Blue. I want to draw him again, but I can't really bring him back into the story because he'd be too weak, so I'm just going to design a new character and have him look similar to Krieg, and then you get SAI, which I'm okay. SAI seems like a step up from Krieg. Okay. So, they arrived at the Corodia Coliseum for other reasons than just obtaining the Mera no Mi. So, apparently, their homeland, the Kano Kingdom, or the Flower Country in the West Blue, was currently battling another kingdom. And I guess that other kingdom was getting weaponry and funding from none other than Doflamingo at Dressrosa. So, the king, or the emperor of the Kano Kingdom, this dude, tasked Chinjao, SAI, and his brother Boo to go to Dressrosa and basically, you know, figure out a way to stop the flow of weaponry, figure out a way to take down Doflamingo. If that, I mean, I guess that ends up leading to the Mera no Mi. Eventually, that's a weapon they could use on their side. So that's the reason they went to Dressrosa. So already, it's an interesting backstory, okay? It's not the same as the other gladiators that are just there to get the Mera no Mi for their own desires or whatever. It's like they have a good reason for going to Dressrosa. There's a backstory here. There's world building and everything. And you know I'm a big fan of world building, okay? We also get the introduction of their new unique martial arts skill that's only found in the Happo Navy and in the Kondo Kingdom, okay? It's the Hasshoken. It's a great martial art technique because you can combine armament hockey with it to make it even stronger. It's basically controlling the vibrations around your hits. Not really sure how one does that or how one trains in it, but basically it's like successive, like shockwave damage whenever you attack someone. So you could you do a normal punch, boom, or you could add armament hockey to it to, like, boom, really break through your opponent's defenses, or you can add another layer of attack on that, which is the Hasshoken, which is like armament hockey, Hasshoken, boom, 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 and then it's just like this vibration, and then, oh, I almost popped my shoulder out of place just now, holy crap, oh, that hurts. That's happening. Side note, my shoulder has a problem that does that. I pop it out of place. It's been a while since it's happened, but just now, it almost happened. It actually popped out of place when I was playing badminton once. I sneezed once in English class, and it popped out of place. It popped out of place at work once. Yeah, that was fun. I don't think it's actually dislocating. It's just something. My one friend who's a physician assistant told me it's probably not dislocating. It's just something else is happening to it, but it hurts like it's getting dislocated. So yeah, that's the power of the Hasshoken. You gotta be careful when you handle that ability. All right, you can't just do it willy-nilly without the proper training. So I'm gonna calm down from now on because I don't want my body to suffer irreparable damage. This is a public service announcement to anybody watching this video. I mean, you can pretend using the Gumu Gumu no Mi, you can pretend using armament hockey and all that crap, but you don't screw around with the Hasshoken. All right, so. Pretty powerful technique. They managed to get pretty far in the tournament itself. They eventually did end up getting knocked out, though, and what that actually ended up leading to is SAI was the one that discovered the hard way the secret of the Coliseum and what they do with the losers, okay? So, SAI, we get a little bit of feeling for his personality here. So, he's like in, like, nobility, so he has, like, a very strong, like, compassion for people. He's not just like this. He looks like a rather intimidating fellow, but he's not just like, I'm a big strong gorilla and I'm gonna beat the crap out of you now, Straw Hat. No, he does have a level of compassion for other people, although it's his whole reason why he's there is to save his kingdom, so he's like, alright, well, you know, you are my opponent and that's how it's going to go. Even in the case with his own brother, he kind of has to, like, shelve his emotions for his own family because of his training in the Hasshoken and his ultimate goal here. So at times it's hard for him because he truly loves his family and his brother and his grandfather and everybody, but he has to restrain that in order to truly master his martial arts skill. So there, after they were defeated at the Coliseum, SAI is hanging out next to the medical ward. There's like this giant door that leads into like the operating room, and his grandfather, Don Chinjao, still hasn't come out yet from his fight with Luffy, and so he's there yelling up a storm like, where is my freaking grandfather? Is he dead? Just let me know what's going on here. And then a doctor goes up to him and is like, yes, Mr. Chinjao, you see, what happened is the exit to the medical ward is on the opposite side, so even if he was healed, he wouldn't come out this way, he would come out the other way. And SAI is like, oh, I see, that makes sense. I apologize. I'm so sorry for causing a ruckus. I'm so sorry for causing a scene. Can you ever forgive me? Oh my god, I'm sorry. I got my emotions ahead of me there. I apologize. So, that's his character, right? He's just like, he's probably prone a lot to emotion a lot more, which is why it might be a little bit difficult for him to master the skills at first. I don't even think Chinjao at first really felt like he could carry on the mantle of it until later at the end of the arc when Chinjao finally saw how strong SAI had become and basically passed on the skills of not only the title of the leader of the Happo Navy, because Don Chinjao was the 12th leader, SAI is the 13th now, but also passing on the secret skill of the Hasshoken, the Drill Dragon's Drill Nail. But we'll get to that in a second. So, SAI eventually goes into the operating room, and they're like, okay, lay down, Mr. SAI. We'll take a look at your charts. Pull the switch, Crunk! Pull the lever! And then he just falls down the chute into the underground holding cell where all the other losers of the Coliseum got sent, and that's where we're ready to start to find out, like, okay, what's going on here? How they take all the losers, use Sugar's powers to turn them into toys, and make the toys basically the form of slave labor in the underground port for the underworld. So, yeah, that's the thing there. Now, near the end of the arc, of course, God Usopp saves them all, and they begin the epic battles against the executives of the Doflamingo family. So, SAI has a pretty Dragon Ball Z metal fight against Lao Ji. Mostly because Lao Ji is basically Master Roshi. He's this older dude, that's all the jokes come from him. He's like, he's an old guy. Oda's like, I'm gonna make fun of that. Like, he's attacking the Tontadas, but he has to put on his glasses first. Like, what's going on here? Oh, he puts on his glasses really quick and swats the Tontadas away. Those are most of the jokes with Lao Ji. But also with Lao Ji, that isn't a joke, because jokes have a J, not a J! But anyway, he has a special technique that allows him to retain all of his, like, vitality for when he needs it later on in life. His battle insurance fist. So it's like he can retain his, like, vitality and his muscles when he's, like, in his 30s or 40s, and then use them later when he's, you know, like, when he's weaker in life. So you have this frail old man, but then during the fight with Sai, he, like, bulks up, like, basically Master Roshi, and then, like, let's do this! And they're even, in the anime, there's even, like, straight up, like, Dragon Ball Z stances and sound effects. There's a scene where Lao Ji is like, yeah! And he's, like, charging up, like, about to go super senile old man, or Saiyan, or whatever. And then, the fight between them gets started here. Now, there's a few things to mention here while this whole scuffle was going on. First off is you have Chinjao going up against Baby 5. Now, Chinjao at this point had recovered his head, the whole backstory with him, and we're not going to go super into detail because this is Sai's video, not Chinjao's video, though I should make a video about Chinjao and Garp and everything because there's a really cool backstory there. But Garp took away Chinjao's, like, prized, you know, nail head that he used to split the ice continent in half in order to get his treasure, right? So, because of that, he has a grudge against Garp, and therefore a grudge against Luffy, who's Garp's grandson. Luffy fights him in Cordia Coliseum, uses Thor elephant gun, and manages to return his nail head. So Chinjao's back to fighting. He's going up against Baby 5, but then Sai stops him, grabs his head, and, like, bends it, so it, like, basically gets removed again. But it's okay in this sense, because Chinjao can pass on the technique to Sai, because after bending his head, he realized Sai has surpassed me. This is the new generation. It's time to pass the torch as the leader of the Hoppo Navy to Sai properly. So this leads up to a connection between Baby 5 and Sai. Alright, now look. Here's the deal with this, and it's not perfect, but it's at least better than what she had, alright? So, Baby 5's backstory, pretty depressing. Her mother basically abandoned her at a very young age and told her, like, you'll never be good for anybody, nobody will ever want you. This developed a complex in Baby 5 at a very young age where she always feels like she has to be useful to somebody. To the point where she will faithfully and truly devote herself to anybody that asks a task of her. It could be something as simple as, hey, excuse me, ma'am, do you have $1? Because I need to buy something, I don't have enough money. Baby 5 would turn around and be like, oh, you need me to give you $1? Oh my god, thank you so much for wanting me. And then she'd, like, give $1 to the guys, like, okay, that's awesome. Or it could be something like some random street urchin off the street that hasn't bathed in 6 months could be like, hey there, Baby 5, I was wondering if you would like to marry me. Same deal. She'd be like, oh my god, you love me this whole time? Why didn't you tell me? Of course I'll marry. No, seriously, that's funny at first, but you seriously think of all the implications of that, and even Lao Ji said to her directly, like, when she was there, you know, Lao Ji's like, Baby 5 is ours. She will listen to anything we say, you know, faithfully, entirely, with no sense of, you know, being a traitor or anything. She'll listen to everything we say without fail. Do you understand how convenient that is for us? And you see Baby 5 when he says that, and she begins to cry. Because I think that's, like, her realizing that, yeah, she went with Doflamingo because she thought, you know, she could be useful, but they're using her basically the same way as everybody else is. Because a lot of people in Dressrosa know that she'll do pretty much anything that they ask of her. That's why she's been, like, proposed to, like, 20,000 times by everybody in town, and Doflamingo has to keep eliminating them. But at the end of the day, you know, the family isn't much better. The family is the exact same way. Like, she'll listen to anything we say without fail. So, yeah, she's very convenient. And I think Baby 5 begins to realize, like, oh my god, this is my existence, this is my life, this is all my life is, you know? And so, look, Sai only knows Baby 5 for, like, a couple of hours, and then he decrees, like, when I defeat you, I will marry her! I think he calls her a tramp as well, like, this tramp, I will marry her! And so it's like, look, I mean, that's not much better. It's just like, all right, I'm gonna marry her even though I don't know her, but at least Sai's going to, you know, not take advantage of her. At least we could be, you know, certain of that. Sai is an upstanding fellow, you know, that fights for his family and everybody, truly loves, like, his family in the Happo Navy, and so if Baby Five's his wife, of course, he'll protect her and everything, and he won't, like, just, you know, command her to do all these horrible things like the Doflamingo family did. Still a little weird. She's still got some major problems with the complex and everything, but at the end of the day, it's better off, right? So, she falls madly in love with Sai, which, like I said, is less impressive because she does that with, like, anybody that, you know, asks for her hand in marriage, so it's not a big deal that she's like, oh my god, Sai! You know, so, well, whatever. Okay, fine, it's cool. So Sai continues his fight with Lao Ji, and he ends it in such a cool way. So he fights with, like, a polearm weapon, usually. He's used a sword earlier on during the Coliseum, but he had a polearm for most of his fights, right? That's, like, obviously you could tell what he's adept at. It's like a naginata sort of deal. But he uses it in a way, not just, like, from, like, slashing or, like, piercing his opponents. He also uses it as, like, a pole vaulting, like, thing. Because his attacks are mostly focusing in his kicks, because that's what he's, like, trained in. So Chinjao trained with his head, his drill nail head in the Hasshoken, and he would armament hockey up his head in the Hasshoken and stuff. Boo, his brother, is really good at using it in, like, his elbows, sort of like Burgess's Hado elbow. But Sai, it's focused in his legs. It's his kicks. So it's this really cool acrobatic shit where he'll be, like, running at an opponent and then, like, you know, go to attack with his naga, hit the ground, spin in the air, and I can't do it, but he'll be like, spin, like, do a flip in the air, and then boom, you know, smash down with his leg. And it's some really cool stuff to watch in the anime. The animation in particular, in between Lao Ji and Sai's fight, like, there's a point where the animation, you could tell, like, okay, this is the point where they really put a lot of effort into this animation. And it's very fluent, and they're, like, running at each other, like, I do G! Oh, G! And then they attack, and then it's, like, once again, it's, like, straight out of DBZ, where it's, like, a beam struggle sort of thing, where Lao Ji goes to, like, just release this giant punch, and freaking Sai stabs his naginata in the ground, flips up, knocks down Lao Ji's fist with his one foot, and then just boom! Plows his other foot right in freaking Lao Ji's forehead, and uses the secret technique of the Hasshoken, the technique that Chinjao passed down to him, the Drill Dragon Drill Nail. Even though he doesn't have a drill head, it's a foot, it's still the same effect. It slams into Lao Ji, and just like when Chinjao used it to split the ice continent in half, it just cracks, like, the entire mountain in half. And then this giant abyss opens, and Lao Ji just, and just falls down into the freaking crevice. And then it's beautiful. It's this amazing scene. It's so funny at the end of this fight where the narrator comes on. Well, first off, Sai, like, he stands over the crevice, like, watching Lao Ji fall, and he's like, call me Dawn! That was cool. But then you get, like, the narrator coming on and being like, the battle at the second level of the plateau. 2 executives have fallen. Baby Five in love, and Lao Ji into a crevice. It's like, Lao Ji fell into a giant hole, and Baby Five fell in love, and then Baby Five's, like, cuddling up to Sai, like, oh my god, dear, you did so awesome, that's so cool! And so their relationship is pretty adorable, because it's, like, basically, like, here you have Sai, who's this, like, really big, like, lunk-headed gorilla kind of dude, and then you have Baby Five, who's, like, this really adorable, like, super cute freaking maid, and, you know, like, like, obviously, she shows way more outwardly affection for Sai than Sai does for her, but you can tell it's definitely there. He throws off his arranged marriage to, I think her name was Thrisha or something, in the Kano Kingdom, because he wanted to marry Baby Five, so maybe there is something there. It'll take maybe a little while to get to that point, but so far it seems like they're a very happy married couple. In the most recent Viva Record, it was, no, not the Viva Record, in the most recent SBS, it was revealed that Sai's favorite food is his wife's bento. So it seems like they're getting along rather well. He loves her cooking, and they are hanging out with each other, and they're married. There's a lot of really adorable fan art of the two. You know, I think just that comparison kind of reminds me of, like, Izumi Curtis course, and her husband, Sieg, from Full Metal Alchemist. You know, Izumi is this tiny little woman, but then you have Sieg, who's like this giant, muscular gorilla dude, but they both love each other, and it's like, okay, alright, that's kind of nice there. So, yeah, Sai is pretty damn strong. I mean, if you factor in the fact he controls an entire pirate navy, that's pretty good. He knows armament hockey. He has the Hasshoken, which is like another like extension of that, where he can like add even more power to his armament hockey, where he can split giant mountains in half. I mean, that's nothing to slouch at. You know, you compare it to the other Grand Fleet members, I'm like, he's probably stronger than Ideo. I would say he's definitely stronger than Leo. Hyrudine, you know, just in terms of sheer physical power, Hyrudine might be stronger, but then you also have to figure he doesn't have access to those like unique martial arts skills and everything. Hakuba is pretty strong. Bartolomeo, I mean, like the Hasshoken. Well, here's the thing with the Hasshoken. The Hasshoken might be a good way to fight against Bartolomeo's barriers, because let's say Bartolomeo throws up a barrier, but then, you know, he Hasshokens the barrier and it, like, vibrates the barrier, so it might not damage Bartolomeo, but at least it would, like, shake him up if he's inside the barrier or something. Not really sure if the vibrations would get through or not. But if you don't want to say, like, I'm not saying he's the absolute strongest out of the whole group, but he's certainly up there. I would rank him in the top 3 of the Grand Fleet easily. He's a pretty strong fighter. Now, he's also attended Revery, and this is the thing that I don't really understand, so maybe you guys can help enlighten me here. But I'm looking at this. I'm looking at the Kano Kingdom. The Kano Kingdom's in the West Blue. It's allied with the world government, and it has a place at Revery, just like all the other kingdoms do. Okay, but the Happo Navy is well known throughout the world as a pirate navy. Like, that's what its title is. It's a pirate fleet. Kind of the same thing with, like, Orlumbus's pirate fleet. Or Blackbeard is the admiral of his fleet. You know, that's what the Happo Navy is. And yet, not only is Sai able to just come out and be, like they're part of the whole country at Revery, like, Sai attended the Revery. Like, he was there. This is a leader of a pirate fleet attending Revery. He's also, like, well known to the Emperor. It's not like the Emperor of Kano hates the Chinjao family or anything. No, they're like best buddies, apparently. So I'm not really sure how that works. Like, do the people at Revery, does the world government not know that it's like, the Happo Navy is connected to Kano? Should be pretty obvious. Or, like, the leader of the Happo Navy, this well-known pirate fleet, is attending Revery this year. That's a little weird, don't you think? I thought that was a little weird. Like, Leo attends Revery as well, but the Tontatas are not well known as a pirate crew yet. You know, like, they haven't been going around pillaging places. You know, the Tontatas are just kind of from Dressrosa. But the Happo Navy has been around for, like, 13 generations. I wouldn't be surprised if the Happo Navy had its beginnings back during the Void Century. Honestly, if we're going back that far, I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest, right? Like, Sai is the newest one. He's the 13th leader. Chinjao was the 12th, and Chinjao's a pretty old dude, so I would imagine you go back 11 more generations, you'd eventually get back to the Void Century. Fine, that's usually what it connects back to. But it's like, they should know about the Happo Navy's existence and what they do and all that stuff, but whatever. I guess they don't really care, or the Kano Kingdom does a really good job of putting it down on the down low, like, oh, the Happo Navy's not connected to us, even though it's kind of obvious it is. So, whatever. I don't know how that works, but that's how that works. Okay, so he's at Revery with Leo. I would like to see him get some action. I would like to cut back to Revery, like, because we have that scuffle between the revolutionaries and the admirals, but I would love it if, like, all hell broke loose along with that, like, Sabo and, you know, Lindbergh and Morley, they fight against Fujitora and Ryokyogu, but then there's, like, other battles going on at the same time, like, the talks have broken down, Leo! It's time to go! Freaking Sai takes out his Naginata and cocks it for some... Let's do this, Leo! You know, Leo... Sai combo attack or something, like freaking Leo strings everybody together, which is his Nui no Mi, his Stitch fruit, and then he like takes them all into like a giant ball stitched together, and then Sai takes out his Naginata. He's like, Hasshoken! Whitebeard! Cut! Because his attacks are very similar to Whitebeard because they involve vibrations. I mean, they're more seismic vibrations when it comes to Whitebeard. He can like, charge up his Bicento with his Gura no Mi. But I'm sure Sai could do that, too. Sai could armament hockey up his Naginata, and then add his Hasshoken vibrations through it, and it wouldn't be as strong or as widespread as Whitebeard's fruit, obviously. Whitebeard's fruit could end the world. It would be much more a close-range thing. But, yeah, Leo could string them all up and throw them right at Sai, and Sai could be like, boom, and then knock them right out of the park. That would be pretty cool. So, yeah, or he could do the same thing, but just, like, pierce them with it. Like, that would be sweet. So, yeah, I would like to see Sai get some action. He's a member of the Grand Fleet. They have to be doing something at some point. I know at the end of Dressrosa, the narrator came on and said, like, you know, these members of the Grand Fleet are going to be part of an event in One Piece. Even they don't know how big it's going to be yet, but it's going to happen. But I would like to see some action with them, you know, to maybe build up their characters a little bit more, seeing, like, how they're improving, because if, you know, it would be weird if it's like, okay, we saw the Grand Fleet at the end of Dressrosa, and then they go away forever, and we don't see them until the very end when they show up at Raftel. I would like to see some action with Bartolomeo and Cavendish and everybody before we get to the final arc, where I'm sure they're going to show up and play a really big role. Even if you maybe want to say, like, the Straw Hat Grand Fleet are all going to team up and go up against the Blackbeard crew. Like, each member of the because you have members of the Straw Hats that have to go up against the Blackbeard crew, but the Blackbeard Pirates are going to have way more members than the Straw Hats at that point. Like, if you're including Aokiji in that, if you're including Moria in that, so many more fighters. It'd be cool to see, like, the Grand Fleet go up against, like, the previous opponents that Luffy defeated, you know? Like, freaking Sai goes up against Moria or something. That would be a cool fight, you know? I would pay to see that. So yeah, Sai, pretty cool character. I didn't really care for him at first. At first, he really did just come off as like, I'm a really tough gorilla lunkhead. But, you know, he warmed up to me. The relationship with Baby 5, and then the battle with freaking Naoji, and of course, the world building and everything with his country and his martial arts skills. It's always great to see more martial arts in the One Piece world, because it's a big world. You got a lot of different people coming up with unique fighting styles that are, like, only limited to them. Like the freaking Okama or Newkama Kenpo, and then you have the Tontada combat, and you have the Fishman karate and the Merman combat skills, and then now you have the Hasshoken, which is something that only this one particular island developed. You have the ninja skills of Wano, so it's always neat to see that, right? Okay, well anyway, thanks for watching, everybody, and we only have one left, so there's really no reason for me to roll this die, but tell you what, if the number's 1 through 6, then we'll talk about Orlumbus. How about that? It's a 5. Okay, it is a 5, so we'll talk about Orlumbus. I don't know, it was a close one, but yeah. Orlumbus is the last member of the fleet. He's a pretty cool guy. I gotta work on my boiled egg game next time, on my hard-boiled egg, to make sure I get it just timed exactly. I have to make the timing in the next video perfect. It's gonna be 23 minutes exactly. Alright, I'm gonna time it. That's how serious I'm gonna be. It's for Orlumbus! Signing out, everybody.